This is Pixelated Audio, episode 145, expansion pack 27.
All right, welcome back to Pixelated Audio, video game music podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Brian, and this is Gene.
Hey.
And we've got an expansion pack today, expansion pack 27. It's been a little while since we put one out, so figured, why not?
Yeah, get your foot off the gas. 1 week turns into two. Get behind a little bit, so we got to get back onto the horse and get these episodes back out. Our people are waiting.
I got super busy at work, man. Like it's been kind of rough. Right after the holidays, just everything ramped up, and so I'm kind of drowning right now. So
that's how it always goes. Yeah, everybody's back on it. It's like, oh, we got all these projects we need to do. I've been in the same boat.
Yeah, it's kind of a mess, but you know, this is a great distraction from all the work stuff, and especially we have a lot of music today in this episode that we're not really prepared to talk about that much. I mean, I don't know any of your tracks. You don't know any of mine. So it's going to be kind of a cool mix to listen to some of these tracks together, because this first track that we came in, what a absolute amazing ride that was. And I'd never heard of it before. So
this track is positively glistening. It's like blindingly bright. I mean, it's amazing. So this was kind of a rare find for me. So if folks in the chat may know this, that I've been buying a lot of music on Bandcamp Fridays, all that sort of stuff. I want to say a year or two ago, I stumbled across this, probably looking for another soundtrack Never heard of the game, never heard of the composer. I'm like, seems interesting. Listened to it, was blown away. I pretty much earmarked that for purchase for the next go around, which might have been in like a week or two. So this was from the game Tobituki-hime, a PC shoot 'em up from I think 2006, composed by Masashi Yano, and the track was called Stage 3 Magical Amber. Pretty much none of this is familiar to me, but the music was so good, I had to bring it out.
No, this is really excellent track. I love that that synth that's just kind of, like it's almost like a guitar sound to me. Like I could just imagine, maybe it's the image of this anime girl playing a guitar on the album cover here, but like got this really like kind of 80s nostalgia to it at the same time. I think maybe like an anime meets early, almost like post city pop with Japanese I guess like anime influences thrown in there. So
I think that's why I was feeling it, because it's modern production values applied to very nostalgic sounding, like 80s synth rock and prog and all of the T-Square and all of that stuff. I mean, it's great. It's so much fun.
Right. So do you know anything about this game?
No, it's a shmup. It's not especially well known, I think, especially out here, but I'd never heard of it. Tobituki-hime, which...
It's Tobitsuki-hime.
Okay, yeah.
Tobitsuki. Yeah, and it's a doujin shooting game that was produced by a company called Zero One Step, I think. Yeah, it went straight to PC. I mean, it was a Windows PC only game. I believe, looking at the... trying to read some of the notes here. It looks like it came out in Comiket 69, I guess.
Nice.
So, yeah. Yeah.
It's 11:30 at night, folks. We're firing on all cylinders. I actually looked up the composer a little bit, and he doesn't have too many credits that are super familiar, but the biggest one was Bullet Witch, of all games, for like 360. He had a track or two in Narcissu, which is a visual novel, and Nightmare of Druaga, which is like the fifth game that I don't think anybody has really played in the Druaga series.
Bullet Witch.
Yeah, it was like one of those...
it's like a bullet with two pieces of bread around it?
No, it was like pre-Bayonetta Devil May Cry style game with really crappy controls, so it's like...
Oh my god, it sounds like Bayonetta. So, I mean, it sounds like, like the idea of Bayonetta.
Yeah, I don't know much about this other than more people have to hear the soundtrack. And I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes for where you can buy it on Bandcamp, because it's definitely worth the like $10 or whatever I paid for it.
Oh my god, it's like, it looks like it's 700 yen.
Oh, so. Yeah, it's even less than that then. I probably just threw in 1,000 yen for it just because.
Yeah, worth it. Looks really good, actually. Cool, yeah. Some of the really good stuff that I want to check out in this album, actually, now that I'm like, we're like, oh, we got to record, but I kind of want to go through this now. Anyways.
We don't have time for that, Brian. We got to get your track.
I know. Let's get into this next one here. It's going to be hard to follow up with that. This is from a WonderSwan color game that was released in 2002, developed by a company called Wiz, and then published by Bandai. The game is Gekitou Crash Gear Turbo Gear Championship League. So let's take a listen. This is track 1. That was BGM 1 from Gekitou Crush Gear Turbo Gear Championship League, developed by Wiz, published by Bandai. I don't have a composer for this, but it was released in 2002. Pretty bouncy little track. What'd you think?
I thought it was absolutely delightful. I mean, I loved it. It was really upbeat. It sounded almost more like a staff roll, like end of the game sort of thing.
I know. I was kind of confused myself too. In fact, at first when I heard it, I was like, "Oh, this has got to be," because it's based on a manga actually, or a manga in an anime, and I was like, "Okay, this has got to be like the theme song or something like that." But I looked it up, and it was even translated to English. I think it was it played in Australia, and yeah, and so. I looked up, the music is not the same. It's definitely not the same from everything I heard. There's a few different theme songs. I couldn't find one of them that sounded like this. So I don't think it's the theme song exactly. I'm not sure. It might be the ending. It might very well be the ending, and it's just BGM 1 because
that's
how it was logged.
Where it was in the when it was ripped or wherever. I gotta say though, the thing I love about the Wonder Swan is it's like all of my favorite characteristics of the like 8-bit square wavy chip sounds. It's a little crunchy, very bright, very, a little bit shrill even, but something about it is just different enough that I really enjoy it because we don't hear it that often, even on our show.
Yeah, I know. I mean, one of the big finds for me was Buffer's Evolution. I don't remember what episode that was now, but what a great soundtrack. I mean, I love the Wonder Swan. It's always had like kind of a special place for me. And I never had a crystal, but I had a color. I still have a color. And yeah, Buffer's Evolution was such a fun soundtrack. And I've gone through a lot of the other game soundtracks, and some of them are really great. Some of them, are okay. But the Wonder Swan itself has 4 channels of PCM. So it's really interesting. It has these little tiny PCM samples, and it uses those to make this really kind of lush sound. And I love the bass that it can produce. Like if you're listening with headphones, it just has like this nice like clean. I don't know how to describe like clean and crunchy at the same time. It's like eating a chip with like guacamole.
Yeah, I think I always forget that it's a sampled chip because they're so often using square waves or simple waves, but then that explains why you have those like crunchy drums and slightly crunchy square waves, but still pretty clear. It's just a nice blend, really.
Yeah. So the game itself was released on the PlayStation as well, I believe, and so this was like the little stepchild, I guess, that probably didn't get nearly as much love and attention, but it's interesting. I mean, the game or the anime is like kids. It's about based around kids who like throw. I mean, how many games have we talked about probably on the show where games are doing like robot fighting? Power Quest was one, like Game Boy Color. And anyways, so they throw these robot cars into a circle, and then like they battle them, or they crush each other or something.
It was the Yu-Gi-Oh era, man. Everybody was a kid with like a robot or a dinosaur or something fighting on their behalf.
Yeah, exactly. And so it came out again, like I said, in, I think it was Nagoya TV. I think I read that. And then it came out for TV Asahi. And then it came out in English for Australia under Crush Gear Turbo. I think they just called it that. So, yeah.
I probably won't look further into it, but I will listen to more of the soundtrack.
I watched there's like full episodes on YouTube. You can check it out. It didn't really look that interesting at all.
I think I probably aged out of it, to be honest.
Oh no, absolutely, you've aged out of it. Like I couldn't even imagine playing this game. The PlayStation version looks kind of neat, but let's move on.
Works for me. So Brian, I have to say, can you believe it's already been 20 episodes?
20 episodes of what?
Since we played music. From Harold to Hardtooth, we've got the prequel game. Get ready, Brian. All aboard the Callus Puffs or the Guldkorn Expressen, depending on whether you're in
Denmark. Man, I remember this. Oh, man, I can't wait.
Whether you're in Denmark or Sweden.
Perfect.
All right, that was the title theme from Guldkorn Expressen or Callus Puffs Expressen, depending on whether you're in Denmark or Sweden, for the Commodore 64, composed by JCH or Jens Christian Huus. Oh my God.
Wow. I am so impressed.
We joke
That
about
is
our
so
adver
cool.
games, but so much good music flies under the
dude.
radar.
That was so good. That was so fun. I was just imagining like this train of like gold puffs or whatever.
Oh yeah, they're like sugar smacks in America if you've ever had those.
Yeah. Look, that train looks so happy. Oh man. That's got to be the artwork for this episode. Oh, it's so cool. Anyways, wow, yeah. No, this is like way too good. And I'm impressed, and I got no words. It's got like just like it's a really bouncy happiness to it. I can't see anything like what could go wrong in this game. What's the point? Do you know? Like
you can't contain your joy. I mean, you just hear that track and you got to be the train sounds.
It's like Paperboy, but instead you're throwing cereal at people.
Well, I mean, as penance, they did have to make a game about a tooth mascot. Probably, it's like cigarette companies, right? They got to pay out if they're advertising to kids.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
I got nothing else to say about it other than it was done by those purveyors of quality over at Silver Rock Productions. They made all sorts of advert games, but they happen to hire a really awesome sound team for all of them. So terrible games that you should have no interest in playing whatsoever, but the music is fantastic.
Oh, I love it. Awesome. It's going to be a short one. I think I got 1, 2 more, and then you got 1 more?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll keep it 6 tracks today, keep it short, and then we can get a shorter episode out next. This next track I got here is from a game called Nekketsu Oyako, and which is like the hot-headed family or the hot-headed parents or whatever. And the track is called Big Black. This was released on the Sega Saturn in 1994, developed and published by Technosoft. right, that was Big Black, level 49 from Nekketsu Oyako on the Sega Saturn, released in 1994, developed and published by Technosoft, and composed by Hyakutaro Tsukumo. And man, this is a rockin' track. I love this whole soundtrack and this composer a lot because of this constant just hard rock vibe that's throughout all of his music.
Oh yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I mean, I started the show off with a similar kind of high energy track. I mean, very different eras and different styles, but like, oh yeah, I mean, I think we're feeling the same thing. I don't know why this is such an upbeat show. Like, we usually have something a little bit more like mellow or sad or melancholy in there, but
yeah, something that hangs a little bit more. But yeah, no, I mean, best known for his work on Blast Wind. For some reason, I kept thinking it was Blast Wind and Thunder Force 5. So
I love Blast Wind. That's another great soundtrack that's a little under the radar, but totally worth listening to.
Totally good soundtrack. And after leaving Technosoft, so he was working at Technosoft for a long time. After leaving Technosoft, he established his own company called Noise and later renamed it Factory Noise. And he was doing music production. So he was in, adult games and, as you do when you're in Japan and you're working on your own stuff. And then also was doing some kind of other soundtracky music and stuff like that. Anyways, he also moved on from that and is doing a lot of stuff in doujin activities, doing game music and arrangements, stuff like that. One of the reasons he was so popular for some of his music is because of the sound, that hard rock vibe, and he does it all completely on an SC88 Pro and also a Roland MIDI sound source. So most of his sounds are known for that stuff. Around 2006, I guess he shifted over to software sound sources more, but he had this, this whole library of stuff that he had built out with those old MIDI sound sources. So,
well, I liked it, honestly, and if this is the same guy that did Blast Wind, I'm gonna have to check this one out too. Although, I mean, there's so many games out there, I'm not even surprised I've never heard of this one. I feel like we've both kind of thrown each other a little bit for a loop. I mean, everybody was expecting Guldkorn Expressen, let's be honest. But for the rest of them, I think it's been a surprise all the way through.
Another game you might know for the Saturn is like Hyper Duel. I think that was on PlayStation as well.
Yeah. That's actually a pretty well known one, isn't it?
Yeah. Battle Crust. I don't know.
No. Not familiar.
It was the sound manager for the ports for like Assault Suit Lenos and stuff like that. So
cool.
I did some stuff for like support for Sega Gaga, but it doesn't really say like what the role was. It looks like special sound support. Yeah. I don't know.
That one was a weird game. I think it had a lot of that was kind of like a last, the Dreamcast is on its way out. Let's just throw everything we can in there. So I think there were a lot of people credited on it.
It could have been that. It doesn't say composer anywhere on it, so I'm not exactly sure. But anyways, did a lot of work on stuff for Technosoft. Then moved over to kind of his own stuff for a while, and then adult games and doujin stuff. So there you have it.
Well, like I said, everybody has an adult games phase. I mean, just ask Hammock over at the KVGM.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna play my last track of the night, but I'm gonna give you a bit of a choice here, Brian. So we got a couple options here. We got something a little bit nostalgic, maybe looking back on the past. We got something a little bit pensive and dark, and we got something just sort of breezy and electronic. What are you thinking? What do you want?
Well, I mean, kind of looking for some nostalgia, I guess. I mean, my track to kind of follow up on yours is got a little more energy to it, but not a lot. So hit me with the nostalgia.
All right, I will. So this one is new to me, or it was maybe a few months ago. This is from the game Ihatovo Monogatari. This is Ihatovo City, or sort of the main theme, composed by Tsukasa Tawada. that was Ihatovo City from Ihatovo Monogatari for the Super Nintendo, composed by Tsukasa Tawada. What do you think?
This is really cool. I like this track a lot. It's got a lot of the feels, but it's also one thing I gotta say. It is. Did you notice the really high notes sounded a little bit flat? I'm guessing the sample just did not scale well up towards the top, or it wasn't pitched exactly right, or something like that. Yeah. That unfortunately that kind of dampened my because I really liked the beginning. I thought it came in really soft and gentle. It was a kind of a slow build to have this really beautiful track. I noticed one of the comments in the YouTube video is like, does anybody else think this is could be in an Animal Crossing game? Totally feel that. But when it started going up to those high notes, I started getting it's breaking my my focus. I
know the feeling. Yeah, it's sort of like it really sets this really beautiful, pensive mood, and then there's something that's a little shrill and a little takes you out of it. But I mean, overall,
it was a great track. It was a really good track, though. I mean, I don't want to completely, blow it off for that, for that 1 second of,
Yeah. But. Fair enough. Yeah. No, this one was a bit of a surprise to me. A couple of months back, I don't remember how far, but HG 101 did an episode about this game, and one thing I really like about that show is that there's a good mix of stuff that I've heard about, stuff that I have never heard about. This one was a little bit of a surprise. It's Super Nintendo game, came out in 1993. In my early days, I felt like I'd played through every worthwhile game that had come out for the Super Nintendo. English, Japanese, translated, untranslated. Never heard of this one. Completely, slipped under the radar. And the whole idea is that you were in this city where you're trying to meet up with this author who you always just seem to just barely miss him. And Ihatovo is, I believe, an actual Japanese writer who wrote a series of short stories. You can think of him as sort of like a modern-day Aesop. And so you're this person who plays through... It's like an adventure game, but all it is these short stories. There's no real action. You go to an area, you experience it. One of them is the story of a giant who is dealing with anger issues, and the fact that his anger leads to destroying things that he cares about. And it's not exactly about having a moral, but there's a sense of sadness at loss. And they're all kind of like this. And it was just sort of a poignant, touching game and very unexpected. Why would somebody make a Super Nintendo game like this? And it feels ahead of its time in a weird way. You know what I mean? Even the sound design, I just got flashbacks to Chrono Trigger and Terra Enigma, which were both 2 or 3 years later. And here it was, this kind of humble game from Hecht. Who's even heard of them, right? And I don't know, it really resonated with me, and I was surprised, but I was very intrigued when I heard about it, which is why I sought it out to play it. And I really love the music too. Yeah,
it's got really interesting artwork for the game itself and the box. I really like that. It's got this just kind of old... It doesn't have a Japanese style to it. It looks like some weird Eastern or European animation or something, maybe, I don't know, but it has a very unique look to it. It's very pretty, very artistic. I like it.
Yeah, and the game is too. I think it takes place in the early 20th century, the 20s or 30s. So it's definitely, honestly, an endorsement for the game if you have an opportunity, if this sounds interesting to you, of just telling short stories. And you can beat the game in 2 or 3 hours. It's definitely worth a play. And most of the rest of the music is just okay. This is kind of the hub city. And this is where the action is. You really get the good theme here.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. I have to try it out. I feel like I've probably played it at some point because I feel like I've played everything, but who knows? Who knows?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Well, you said this game was released by Hector?
Hecht. I'd never heard of that developer before I'd played the game.
The box says Hector, so I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, I saw Hecht in the credits in the game, just, on the title screen.
It does say Hecht on the title screen. Yeah, I see that. But on the box it says Hector.
Huh. Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I don't know what games they made otherwise. I could look it up, but anyway,
not for expansion pack.
Exactly. And Tsukasa Tawada actually has a pretty good list of credits. He worked on the Japanese version of Maniac Mansion, Fortified Zone, Moon Crystal. A lot of these like kind of Japanese exclusive games. I mean, there was an original soundtrack for Maniac Mansion, and he was the music director for some Pokemon games in the 2000s. So he's been at it for a long time and is still working on music, I think, today, but more in production and administrative side rather than composition.
Awesome. There is a video of him playing a track from this game on the piano live. So definitely check that out. I'll see if we can find a link for it.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
But in fact, I just found the link. We'll have to put it in the show notes.
Absolutely.
It's him playing it. So we'll have to definitely put that in there. It's pretty rad. Cool. Yeah. So my next track, you ready for it?
I don't know, actually. I think we need to linger here and just think about life a little bit after that track, just
think about that last one, and then you hear that up like
okay, I'm ready now.
All right, it's not gonna hit you like that last one, but this is from a game that I never really would have given the light of day. It's got a really neat little soundtrack. It's called Bakuten Shoot Beyblade. So Beyblade, I think it came out here for PlayStation. I wasn't into the anime, so I don't know much about it, but it's another anime game. This track that I'm going to be playing is released on the Game Boy Color from 2001, developed and published by a company called Broccoli. So let's take a listen. We'll be right back. That was track 13 from Bakuten Shoot Beyblade, developed and published by Broccoli in 2001. This, I couldn't find a composer really anywhere listed for the game. I didn't want to look too hard because the soundtrack's not that great, but I don't know, I just, you get into those moods. Like, I think I was doing some work and I was really trying to focus. I like to play game music with any occasion, really, but I was listening to something and this popped on, and I just it kind of took me back from I was listening, I don't know, maybe some more modern game audio or something.
Sure.
And this just kind of like castle-y, older, like remind me of early Dragon Warrior games, like the early Dragon Quest stuff, and it just it was simple and still powerful. It had this nice little rolls right there before the loop, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, it is as classic as you get compositionally, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like, this is music theory at its core, like effective composition to establish a mood of triumph, maybe beckoning the curtain call. It's time to say goodnight, and a perfect way to end the show, really.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you liked it. I was a little hesitant to put it in because it doesn't have that like wow factor, but like if you're feeling it like I was in the moment, I think it does all the right stuff. So
it does exactly what it needs to do.
Yeah. Broccoli's an interesting company. They did a bunch of titles you probably never heard of. There was like DC, the Origin. I mean, the relatively new company, like I think started around like 2000 or so. They did Aquarian Age, Tokyo Wars, Shinseki Evangelion, something. First Kiss Stories. Yeah, none of these things. Gift Prism. I mean, I don't know. Did one of those even sound familiar? Probably not.
I mean, I've heard of Evangelion, but I think there was...
but I mean...
I'd never played the game, never really knew anything about it, and honestly, none of those other titles mean anything to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's, Japanese company, that they might still be around. They probably still are around. I hadn't seen anything past 2016, so... But Beyblade, I know that anime was like kind of popular, in the early 2000s for a little while. Came out in the US, was dubbed or something, and I never played any of the games, so couldn't tell you much about it.
I think I remember seeing a commercial break or two with the characters in it, but I couldn't tell you anything about what Beyblade is about.
Yeah. So, anyways, well, I mean, we played a lot of really fun stuff tonight. I mean, it's been a while since we've done like an expansion pack and just sat down and just played music and
just keep it light,
zoned out. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun.
Same here. Yeah, I had fun picking out tracks. I have a lot more stuff picked out for future shows, and it was a fun exercise.
I mean, we could have kept going if it wasn't already like past midnight. I'd say like let's just keep it going. But
true, on a work night.
Yeah. Don't say that. No, I'm just kidding. And I want to make sure we give a shout out to our latest Patreon, Michael. Thank you very much. That your donation really helps out the show. We don't spend any of that money on ourselves. It all goes back into the show. So we really appreciate that. If you want to know more about how you can donate yourself, you can head over to pixelatedaudio.com/Patreon or patreon.com/pixelatedaudio.
Yep. And if you want to check out some of our past shows, we just recently had a couple of interviews. We had a string of really great short shows. Going back further than that, we've got a ton of great music. I mean, this is episode 145, so, take your pick. If something looks interesting to you, just give it a listen. I'm sure it's, there's a wide range of music.
There's got to be something for you.
Got to be something for you. A little something for everybody.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you back in a few weeks or maybe even sooner for the next one.